Okay, so I was at Bayside when it happened. I know that what the news is saying is false, and I want to share what I saw. I'm in my 20s and a student here in Miami. My two friends and I were at Miami Black Market, a restaurant in Bayside, when it all went down. First, I want to address some rumors from the last few days. First up, many folks have been saying the police showed up for the fireworks. That's kind of true, but not entirely correct. There were fire trucks and police when we arrived at Bayside. We talked to some people who were there, and they confirmed it was for a fire in the public bathrooms caused by fireworks. That is true. But this was almost a full hour before the main incident happened. So yes, there were police and fire trucks at Bayside due to a fire in the bathrooms caused by fireworks, but that has nothing to do with the massive police presence an hour later. Next, about the missing videos. There should be hundreds of videos, but there are 0 videos from the scene. All videos on YouTube are taken from far away, from high up in buildings or outside way off from the mall. I think I have an explanation for that. First, the initial shock. When you see what we saw, you do not grab your phone. You run. I think you need to spend some time in the proximity, like we did, to let your body respond to the adrenaline rush and your brain to go back from total panic mode. Second, there was something weird with electronics. Lights were flickering as they moved, and when we took out our phones, they were not working. They were on. You could light up the screen, but the touch did not work, nor did Face ID. This is only applicable for those who got out before the lockdown. We who stayed got our phones wiped. More about that later. Oh, and also, the whole network was down, including Bayside Wi-Fi. I do not really know exactly when it happened, but when we were found by the police, we had no service and the Wi-Fi was gone. So, the only chance for video of this incident is if someone streamed it, or was able to send videos or pictures before the network went down. Okay, now here's my story. My two friends and I were going to Black Market at Bayside. That's a burger restaurant if you want fancier burgers. When we arrived, we saw 1 police car and 2 fire trucks preparing to leave. We were about 5 minutes early for our reservation, so we walked around and talked to some teens hanging out. They told us that some guys had set off fireworks inside, causing the fire alarm to go off. There were quite a few teens hanging out, but in my impression, they weren't exceptionally rowdy or causing a lot of trouble. There have been many more earlier, and some fighting, but nothing serious. Most people left when the police arrived. We then went to Black Market for our reservation. We were having burgers and talking trash with each other. About 40 or 50 minutes in, when we were in the middle of our burgers, maybe 10 or 15 people came running past the doors, both adults and teens. Some staff went outside and looked around and talked to someone walking by. When they got back in, they said that they don't know what happened. No one really reacted or did anything, but soon more people came running. Some girls were screaming and people began to stand up, and some just left their tables and ran out in the same direction as everyone was running. Maybe half a minute passed and another wave of people came jogging past the windows. They were all silent, and that somehow made it almost worse. Some people stayed at the tables, a few more went to the bar to pay, and my friends and I told the bar people that we would come back. We started walking in the opposite direction to the part of Bayside with the glass roof. No shots were heard. The people we saw were not screaming or running, more like they were trying to get away silently. As we got closer, we saw a few people standing around the corner of the entrance, but it looked mostly empty. We heard police sirens for the first time. We continued and went inside, and I saw something about 50 feet away. At first 1, then 2 and 3. They were moving slowly away from us. 3 of them. The best I can describe it was that they were looking for something or someone, slowly and systematically. They were 2 on the right and 1 on the left in a zigzag pattern. Like how I imagine a group of military would search through a mall. They did not look right. They were glitching. Like they weren't there physically, but somehow were there. Gigantic legs, as others have reported, but with knees bending the wrong way, about 10 feet tall. But they weren't walking. They had a walking motion, but they were not walking. It was like floating, glitching, like fading in and out of reality. Like they were walking, but not here, somewhere else, and here they just floated. We just stood there. When they moved further away, we followed but kept our distance. I want to say we did this for 4 or 5 minutes before the police came. All of us tried to film them, my friend first, shaking his head and showing a black screen. My phone started, but it was frozen on the lock screen. They all moved and looked the same. They did not seem to care about anyone or anything. Just there, but not there, looking for something. Suddenly, one of them moved hyper fast, like teleporting almost, from the right side to the left side of the aisle, and maybe 20 feet forward in a fraction of a second. In the next second, we heard gunshots. We threw ourselves into some clothing racks, and then there were footsteps, male adults talking loud, and 2 police officers found us and pointed us to leave and go back out where we came from. When we got up and turned around, we saw more police officers telling us where to go. There were about 100 people in the outdoor area where we were, and the sound of hundreds of police sirens echoed between the buildings. We all needed to share our information and put our phones in plastic bags for the police. Then give a statement, and I don't know why, but what I told the officer did not seem to disturb or surprise him at all. Very professional and correct, like they have done this exact thing a million times. Then they split us up in small groups, we got our phones back, and they walked us all the way to 8th Street, almost half a mile away. When we got outside, we saw the insane police presence. Neither me or any of my friends have gotten any information when calling the police about it. They just say that we will be contacted if needed. No one has reached out to any of us. We did not sign any papers regarding not talking about this, and I really don't know how to handle it. So, this is my story. I wanted to share it with the world. And yeah, that's it. If you have any information or knowledge about the event and did not sign any papers that is stopping you from sharing, please use the comment section below.